Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight here. And I'm going to do my best to be with you here tonight. I've got a sort of a weird sore throat thing. I think it's caused from allergies and drainage and being out all day at a music festival, playing with the Demigod Saturday and being under chemtrails all day and record temperatures and all that. So I don't know what I think going from outside into, 105 degree temperature, scorching heat, and then going back into air conditioning, sometimes does that to you too. So I kind of got the sore throat here tonight. So bear with me. I'm going to do my best to give you the best quality show I can here tonight for as long as I possibly can here tonight. So, but if I sort of kind of talk kind of low and stuff like that, and don't really push it that much, then you'll know why. But we are here with you on this Monday edition of the broadcast. It is officially the Monday edition of the broadcast. We're now fully into Tuesday, so we're June 21st into the 20th into the 21st, 2011. And I hope you had a nice weekend. We're here with you live on the show tonight, just barely. Luckily tonight we last week had asked. At the end of the week, we had a show on the Friday. We had on Friday last week. We haven't had shows on that many shows on Fridays for a while because most of the time we're playing gigs and stuff on Friday, so I haven't been doing shows that day. But we actually had a gig on Saturday afternoon this time, so I did a show Friday night. I don't know how many people caught that show, but it was a good one. If you want to go back and play catch up and listen to it later, you definitely should do that. But I'd asked people to, we've had slow donations really over the past month or so, because I was off for a couple of weeks because of the death of my two family members and, not really in the right mind to do radio. And it's just amazing that something like that hurt my work and what I'm trying to do here in the sport that I'm trying to get for it more than anything else that's ever happened in the course of the 4 years I've been doing my radio show. It's really disheartening, to know that people, if you're not there, and I knew that for the longest time. I mean, I've known that that's how it always is, there's been radio hosts through the years that, had radio slots in one particular time period for a long time, or one slot, and then didn't do shows for a month or 2 months or something, or a couple of weeks, and then, they get on a new network and think that their audience just automatically transfers. People that listen to this type of stuff are fucking brutal, man. It's like, if you're not there for them every day, for free, by the way, in most cases, giving them their infotainment, then they just, they'll just soon go get it somewhere else. And then they'll just proceed to make stuff up about you that's just flat not true, and use that more to try and defame your character, because, of course, these type of people can never come to the table with facts that go against your information. No, it's always personal attacks. So we didn't get in. Friday I had said that the stream bill was due, and we didn't get any help for that, and it got shut off. And that's what happens when you don't pay your bills. They shut your shit off, and that's what happened. So I'm not just an anon who's one of our chatters who hasn't been able to get in our chat room for a while because I guess his IP fell in some sort of range of something else, of somebody else that got banned. He actually helped us and got us what we needed tonight and got us back on the air. So if you know that, if you know I'm just not just an anon, you see him ever in the chat room or something, definitely say thanks to him for helping us out. But yeah, we my mic's doing weird stuff tonight. Maybe it's not on your end. Maybe it's just my end. It goes from like a lot of bass to not very much bass. It's weird. What's going on? Well, seems you just never know with this technology. But so anyway, yeah. So we did. We got enough to pay the bill, but now that kind of puts us at zero. So we've got a couple of more weeks left here of the June chip-in banner, and it just seems that we're not getting very close to that. It just seems odd that it just still blows me away. I can't get over it. I can't get over it because it's a fact. I cannot believe it. Boggles my mind that we have that we've lost some listeners. Now, with that said, we've gained. Our listenership right now is at an all-time high. That's what still boggles my mind about this whole thing. So our listenership keeps going up. Our reach keeps going up. How many people that we're reaching every day live and with archives and with YouTube videos and subscriptions on my YouTube channel. I mean, everything, it's increasing, but it seems that the financial support to keep this thing going is decreasing. I don't know how that happens. I mean, only I could have that kind of luck, where you're actually when you're actually becoming more prosperous and reaching more people than ever, the financial support to keep it going is less than it ever has been. How does that happen? It boggles my mind. I mean, yeah. So, I don't know. I must be doing something right at least. But we've got to have more support in here for this if we're going to keep going. That's just all there is to it, folks. If I have $54 in my account, for instance, and $54 is what I have to my name, and the stream bill has to be paid, or I can eat. You gotta figure it's not a hard decision on what I'm going to choose there. So all I'm asking is that I don't get put in that kind of situation, those kind of situations with what I'm doing. That's all. That's all I'm asking for. That's not a situation that I should ever have to be in here. You know what I mean? That's all I'm asking for. That's not asking for a lot. Just to not have to be in those kind of situations where if I have to make, a decision about whether I eat or whether or not I pay the stream bill or something. That's ridiculous. The amount of listenership that we have now, this kind of stuff, there's no way you should be doing that, especially with the model of these other networks where, they want to sell you gold and hot gold to you and the rest of the stuff. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, we got to have more support. That's all there is to it. It's been abysmal over the past month. It's been abysmal since my dad passed away and I was off the air. We barely made it by the skin of our teeth last month at the last minute, or this month, But when I'm having to worry about whether or not I can pay the stream bill, whether I'm going to eat, it makes it very difficult to be able to do my work and focus my energy where it needs to be focused at. That's the biggest thing for me. And then people, I get all these emails, and then people in the chat room, where's the stream? Where's the stream? I'm getting tons of these emails. How come the stream is off? Well, gee, dipshit, I wonder why. It's funny, man. But, the funny thing is, I know who sent it. The funny thing is, I guess the people that send me these emails don't understand that I also don't see their email address in the emails I get from people who make donations. You understand what I mean? So what's funny and very interesting about that is that I don't get any emails saying, where's the stream? Why were you off for 2 weeks just because your uncle and your dad died within a week of each other, you pussy? Get the fuck back up on air and buck up and do your radio show. I don't get those type of emails from people who actually donate to our work. It's funny, isn't it? So those kind of emails only come from people who don't support one iota what I do financially at all, but feel like they have the right to micromanage what I do. That's hilarious to me. You're going to try to get in my business and what I do with this and that and everything else. Fuck you. No. Unbelievable. So, the people out there who do take care of us and support us every month, I'm not talking to you and I'm not asking you to do more. I'm not asking you to do any more than you already do now. So I'm not talking to those people that do support us. I want to make that clear. I'm not saying you should give more if what you already give. You guys, if you give it anything, then you're cool. Whatever. You don't have anything to worry about. I'm talking about those out there who send emails that, treat me like I'm a fucking circus monkey. It's so funny how this kind of thing works, because our culture programs us to have a mentality about people who we perceive as having some sort of stature or fame or notoriety or anything else, this cult of personality deity thing where it's not even worship and stuff like that. I'm not saying people do that to me. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, it's just this idea, the way that people have in their heads that somehow people who are in some sort of, we're somehow different, just because we put ourselves out there. I'm no different than any of you, man. Except for some of you cocksuckers out there. You know who you are. I'm not on your fucking team, so fuck off. But, just because I made the decision, in 2007 to put it all on the line and do this and try to stand up for what I believe in for the first time in my life, it doesn't automatically make me some sort of I don't know what people have in their heads sometimes. It's just bizarre. Why aren't you on air? How come your movie isn't out yet? I didn't know if I was ever going to come back and do this again, to be honest with you, because of that stuff. And it shows me that if people don't have compassion for that kind of thing, or don't have compassion for me when I was going through some serious shit over the past month, with the death of family members, if those type of people don't have compassion for me in that situation and just want, I can understand if these people were sending me $5,000 checks a month, if you were sending me a check for $5,000 a month and wanted to know why I wasn't doing a radio show for a couple of weeks, and you said something like, I pay you $5,000 a month, or $10,000 a month, and, it's not my problem that your family members died, I might go, okay, well, you know what? In a business sense, you're right. But again, this is coming from people who've supported me in no significant way at all. So it really bothers me because I go, well, if these type of people are listening to my show because they consider themselves people who want to try and change things and change the way that society thinks and the way that we view ourselves as humans on this earth, boy, we got a lot longer way to go than I thought. Because, if you can't, if you can't have compassion for somebody in that situation, boy, I think you need to go back where you came from, go join back up with old Jones Corps over there, and go back and continue to
suck Satan's cock
and leave me the fuck alone. That's what I say. But we'd love to have your emails tonight. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. It's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. If you've got emails, you have things that you'd like to hear me talk about or discuss here on the show tonight, I'd love to hear from you. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. The broadcast originates from my website, www.theglobalreality.com. That's www.theglobalreality.com. And we're going to get into some news in this segment of the broadcast. And we'll continue in our reading tonight from the Lost Book of Enki. On Friday, if you didn't hear Friday's show, go back and listen to the archive of Friday's show. Because I sort of had this epiphany, and I had to play this. We played this music, this art and music festival the Demigods did over the weekend, and I had to be up at the ass crack of dawn to go out to this thing, to be out there all day and stuff. And so I'd done the show Friday night, and it was pretty late when I did it. And we got into reading the Lost Book of Enki, and started having these epiphanies and these realizations of what that was. And what we were reading from Friday night, it's just amazing. It's what the Lost Book of Enki is, which I did not know at the time in which because I've never, I've looked at some of the Stitch and stuff, I've read his stuff, I'm just not a fan of his stuff because it just seems like it's so skewed towards, propping up the phony state of Israel and all this horse shit. It just has such a Zio slant to it in a way. But, I thought after reading the Gods of Eden that this would be a nice follow-up. But I didn't realize until Friday night that this is the lost books that were supposed to the lost books of Ea, the lost books of the Brotherhood of the Snake. Calling it the Lost Book of Enki is kind of a misnomer. Yes, Ea and Enki were certainly the same person, but it kind of misrepresents what it is so that people don't realize what it is and won't seek it out. Now, that alone, to me, qualifies Zecharia Sitchin as, gatekeeper deluxe. No question. I mean, that to me is if anybody ever asks you, well, why do you think Sitchin's a gatekeeper? Boom, there's your answer right there, baby. Write that down. Because he misrepresented what this work, what this translation from these Sumerian tablets really is. And so I couldn't sleep, man. I slept like 2 hours and had to get up at the butt crack of dawn because my mind was racing, because it was just like that aha moment. I put it all together. I realized, God damn, this is, the whole thing about Sitchin makes sense to me now. Because again, it's just like Alex Jones. It's just like any of these other guys. It's not what they're telling you. It's what they're not telling you. And the misrepresentation of certain things. Calling it the Lost Book of Enki, and then telling people that Enki was this, mythical god of the Sumerians, or better yet, the ancient Iraqis, those crazy ragheads. It just, people just dismiss it and don't look into it. But if it was more appropriately titled what it really is, which is the lost information of the Brotherhood of the Serpent, boy, you'd have a lot more people interested in it, wouldn't you? And that's exactly what it is. Because Enki or Ea talks about, that without the knowledge of the past, and we're talking about not just the past of Earth times, but the past of the people on their planet who came and seeded life on this planet, if that knowledge is not given to humankind, then we will go down the same terrible, destructive paths that they did. And what this book, Volume 1 that we were reading out of the Lost Book of Enki here, it's a genealogical and historical record of the ancestors of the Anunnaki. I mean, just fucking mind-blowing stuff. Because then you realize, they pitted the people against each other, and there was, great nuclear cataclysms, and then, the remnant people of the bloodline that probably went underground came back up, set up their supremacy, and ran, it's just that's exactly what Ea Enki, that's what he wanted us to know. He wanted us to know that our ancestors came from another planet, and if we didn't know the history of what they did and where they screwed up and the mistakes that they made, that we too would go down that same exact road, and us going down that same exact road is exactly what the elite in the New World Order, That's what their master plan is. It just hit me like a ton of bricks, man. It all makes sense to me now. Why people have tried to say this kind of stuff is disinfo. Why they've tried to say talking about extraterrestrials and the Anunnaki is disinfo. Why that calling it disinfo was done by people the likes of Alex Jones that are ensconced in these Brotherhood networks. Jones is connected to the Jesuits, 18 Ways to Sunday. Connected to the whole priest class, 18 Ways to Sunday. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, my God, this is it. You know, this is what we have to get out to the people. This right here. We need the people of the world to know that what is past is truly prologue. That we can change the future by understanding what happened in a past we haven't even been allowed to know yet even exists. So it really did. It really changed the whole outlook of the fight to me, because this is the fight, man. This is the true fight. How do we get the small minority of people we have out there already that are somewhat awake to these issues, at least on the level of, 9/11 and, standard patriot truth movement type of issues? But how do we get those people to see that what they're buying into is another level of the paradigm, and then get them to see this information that shows where this control is truly coming from? That's the whole essence of why a group like the Council for National Policy is around. They're there to be the phony side B. You've got liberals over here, Republicans over here, and to provide constant misdirection and distractions away from and getting people and minds wrapped around issues that have little to do, or really have nothing to do, and could never in any way, shape, or form hope to downplay the effect that the power structure is having. That's why the gatekeepers like Alex Jones and others are there. They're designed so that you never get on the plantation, off the plantation long enough to find out what it really is they're hiding and how far back this really goes. Oh, the Anunnaki stuff, blah, 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 that's disinfo, blah, blah, blah. Well, is it? Well, okay. Let's talk about why it's disinfo. Let's define why is it disinfo, to even discuss it or talk about it. Oh, well, you need to be talking about the bankers, blah, 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 this phony science fiction stuff. Really, is it science fiction? Okay, well, it seems a bit coincidental to me that this, and look, I don't give a fuck about, I'm going to tell you honestly, I've tried to be, I'm trying to be as nice about this as I possibly can. But you guys, you hardcore brainwashed Christians who continue to send me emails, I just don't understand why you still bother. I'm non-negotiable on these things. I know it's hard for you to wrap your mind around the fact that you are following a religion that is so powerful that you believe in it so much you can't break free from it in any way, shape, or form. I understand that. But that's not my fault. Don't be mad at me because that stuff never had an effect on me, and it never did, even at a young age. First, second grade, man, I was freaked out going into churches. I mean, just fucking, I could just tell it was dirty, scummy, creepy shit. Always knew it was. I mean, it used to drive me crazy when people would say prayers over meals when I was, 8, 9 years old.
I guess I truly am the motherfucking Antichrist. Yes.
I guess so. Oh, man. I just don't need it. Anyway, Lost Book of Anarchy, we'll continue reading that tonight. Good stuff. We've got to understand that We're so arrogant as humans. God. I mean, we really think this is the first rodeo. Our civilization on this planet is the first rodeo any intelligent beings have ever had. We honestly believe that. Civilizations have never risen to the ground before. No. There's never been, technological cities and technological entities and beings on, that have inhabited planetary systems before and inhabited planets. Well, that's never happened. We're the first. Yeah, right. Unbelievable how many people still believe that. We are going right down the same deadly, destructive path that people in our past have, and they've tried to warn us. But again, because the entire power structure is based on the withholding of that knowledge, and it is, the whole power structure is based on withholding that information from us. Because then if we know the information, then that can't be the conclusion, and then you can't have a power structure running things. It can only happen with a power structure in charge that is withholding key information from the people that could change their destiny or their fate. So we'll get into reading that for you here tonight on the broadcast. Let's jump into some news. Again, emails love to have from you. I don't think I have any that I got in over the weekend or anything. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. See what kind of emails we have here. Or not emails, news. Tracy had sent me an article here. Apparently, homeowners down on their luck and behind on their homeowners association dues continue to be threatened with foreclosure, which is legal in Texas. While state lawmakers debate proposed reforms in the law, one local state senator with HO industry ties says he thinks some laws should just stay as they are. There are more than 200 well-kept homes and 4 manicured entrances at the Timber Creek Estates in Rockwall. But beneath the veneer, an undercurrent of resentment can be found among the many who in hard economic times have fallen behind on their $300 a year housing association dues. So they're trying to foreclose on people who don't pay homeowners association dues. And it's funny because it just happens to be, in neighborhoods that are, right on top of the rock wall. Imagine that. So good story there. Let's see what else we have. Did you guys see this? I mean, this is full-blown blue beam shit here. They apparently made buildings and mountains. I'll put a link to this in the chat room. Like, it looked like a city. And then another thing looked like some kind of fantasy land, thing, and some mountains and 3D holograms in the middle of China. And there's a video there where you can see it. People, came out of their homes wondering what the hell was going on. Nobody in the video or anywhere else I could find describes who did it, what technology they used, why they did it, what the purpose of it was, or anything. But people just walked outside of their homes and there's fucking, some big city off in the distance on top of a river, And it's gotten good, man. I mean, it's really seriously believable because they were at a distance on this bridge and you could see it way off in the distance, right? You can see that in the video on the link I put in the chat room. And you can see the city off in the distance, right, on the bridge. But when they put the camera up and they zoomed in on it with the camera, oh, my God, you could see the detail. I mean, it was totally real looking. So, again, no explanation as to why they did this, who did it, the technology behind it, purpose, or anything else. Very, very interesting there. I think they're getting close to using this technology for something. Quite a few deaths over the weekend. Remember the guy from Jackass burned to death and crashed his 911 Porsche drunk. That was smart. I figured he would have died sticking a truck up his ass with a condom, a toy truck up his ass with a rubber on it, but no, he died drunk in a car in a Porsche, like you do. Clarence Clemens, famous saxophonist for Bruce Springsteen, died over the weekend. And activist Brian Haw. You guys might recognize Brian Haw. He's the guy that always had the hard hat on and had buttons and was out in front of Parliament for years and years, just camped about there, living out there. Brian Haw, Unsung War Hero. So we have this up on the website, theglobalreality.com, for you as well. Man, Hydra got it up there for us. On Sunday, June 19, 2011, Brian Haw died peacefully in his sleep following a long fight with lung cancer. Brian's death ends his decade-long challenge to the British establishment and his constant reminder to members of Parliament and civil servants entering the Houses of Parliament in London of the brutal effects on ordinary people, economic sanctions, and wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. On June 2nd, 2001, Brian Haw left his wife and 7 children and his work as a carpenter to live day and night outside Parliament, to focus attention on the devastating impact of the economic sanctions on Iraq and the plight of children born with birth defects attributed to the use of depleted uranium munitions in the 1991 Gulf War. So there you go, Brian Haw. And they should put a statue of that fucking guy right there in that spot where he sat for years, because I mean, that's dedication. The guy, gave up everything, dedicated 10 years of his life to just, basically be a street bum or a transient and stand out to try and make a difference, try and draw attention to this. He'd be hard-pressed to find anybody, I think, past couple of decades has done anything that substantial. So we salute Brian Haw and the work that he tried to do in his lifetime, my friend. He will not be forgotten. Oh, this is classy. Yeah, these right-wingers are just out of control lately. Good church Christians. I love how these Christians, man, it's so funny. It's like, oh, you smoked that marijuana. Yeah, you smoked that marijuana. You're a dirty devil metal music listening druggie. And then these motherfuckers, like, it's all right for them to, drink the holy wine. Oh, you're not sinning as long as you're drinking alcohol and having sex with men. Yeah, that's how it works. God likes that. God loves it when you drink alcohol and have sex with other men. Hager said so. It's approved. I approve this message. A Republican state senator from Idaho was arrested in the early hours of Sunday morning and charged with grand theft auto and driving under the influence, according to police reports. State Senator John McGee, Poops McGee, currently the majority caucus chair for the Idaho State Senate, had been drinking on a golf course late Saturday night when he apparently decided to leave on foot. After walking for miles without shoes, he came upon a truck and a trailer that had his keys inside. He didn't get too far, though. Residents of the neighborhood were alarmed around 3 a.m. to discover the truck jackknifed in the backyard of a home down the street. McGee reportedly exited the vehicle and walked up and down the street several times before returning to the truck and falling asleep. Witnesses said he appeared to be in another world and was covered in cuts and scrapes, asking about the promised land. Oh, my God. See, I knew it. Jesus is going to take me to the promised land in a stolen truck. I mean, these cocksuckers want to put fucking, people in jail for a fucking seed, a marijuana seed, and they'll go out and do shit like this. Oh, my God, I had the devil in me. I got a sickness. They give them that AA talk. I've got an illness. Such bullshit. Alcoholics Anonymous, they just brainwash people. Oh, I've got an illness. It's not my fault. I'm a mean drunk and I beat people and kill them and rape women. I've got a disease. Yeah, it's called Jesus. It's your fucking disease. I'm really not in an I'm always in an anti-religious mood, but I'm not an atheist. I'm one of the most spiritual people you'll ever meet. I'm very connected with the source of all things in the universe. I'm very connected with all of that. But god damn, fuck these religions and fuck these fucking custodial sons of bitches. Fuck these people for, tricking our ancestors into believing they're gods when they're nothing more. And that's what these people want to do, man. They want to go to other planets and that's what Hitler wanted to do. And that the reason Hitler wanted to do is because the people that are above him want to do. Where do you think he got it from? They literally want to go to other planets and do what the Anunnaki did here. That's their ultimate goal. They want to go seed people with their version of whatever the religion is and start, setting up fucking franchises on planets all over the place. That's really what they want to do. Oceans in distress foreshadow mass extinction. Pollution and global warming are pushing the world's oceans to the brink of a mass extinction of marine life unseen for tens of millions of years, a consortium of scientists warned Monday. Dying coral reefs, biodiversity ravaged by invasive species, expanding open water dead zones, toxic algae blooms, the massive depletion of big fish stocks are all accelerating, they said in a report compiled during an April meeting in Oxford. My God. We wonder, well, oh, my God, we got all the damn oceans are dying. Well, I don't know why. We got damn global warming in it. We're going to have to have us a carbon tax. I invented the internet. Yeah, all that oil and all that corrects it. I didn't do it. No, it's a damn fossil fuels and them SUVs. Yep, this is what it was. Sponsored by the International Program on the State of the Ocean, the review of recent science found that ocean health has declined further and faster than dire forecasts only a few years ago. These symptoms, moreover, could be the harbinger of wider disruptions in their interlocking web of biological and chemical interactions that scientists now call the Earth system. All 5 mass extinctions of life on the planet, reaching back more than 500 million years, were preceded by the many of the same conditions now afflicted in the ocean environment, they said. The results are shocking. We are looking at consequences for humankind that will impact in our lifetime. Yeah, so anytime that, there's ever been this, what they're saying is, and I don't know whether it's true, I have any reason to believe it is or isn't true. I'm just saying, if what they're saying is true, and there is a decline in the oceans, then and this always has preceded a mass extinction, that would give you a pretty good idea that a mass extinction is around the corner. Is it going to be a man-made mass extinction or is it going to be a natural mass extinction? Let me ask you the question now. How would you ever know the difference? Well, they could launch something, kill every single one of us on the planet right now, and get on TV and tell us 15 minutes before we were all dead that it was some kind of, planetary thing. And people would believe it. Well, there's some reason why they don't do that, isn't there? There's some reason why they have, they've got to have the neutron bomb forever. That's why I get so, always been sort of taken with a grain of salt when I hear people like Al Jones, they want to kill us all. If they want to kill us all, they could have done it already. They've had neutron bombs for decades. Neutron bombs are easy, quick, simple. You drop them on every major population center on the world, and you send in the fucking 500 million Chinese army with brooms and dustpans and sweep up and move right in. That's all you got to do. Because neutron bombs only affect organic living things. They don't affect buildings and material things. No. So why haven't they done that? Because if you're going to be in power, you have to have people to rule over. So they're going to keep us in a constant, perpetual state of rule. That's what it's all about. So don't buy into the hype. They're going to kill us all. If they want to kill us all, they'd have done it already. They have to keep some of us here. They like to, kill us en masse while still keeping enough of us here to justify having a power structure, And everybody's shitting themselves now. Oh, there's some kind of drill going on the East Coast. Oh, my God. And then Jonesy's trying to say, oh, folks, it's propaganda, folks, CNN. Well, yeah, if he's saying it's propaganda, it makes you wonder if it is or isn't. It's mid-June, a perfect time to visit the beach to watch porpoises play in the surf or seagulls strut in the sand. Or you could watch a formation of Marine Corps warplanes darting over the shore at hundreds of miles per hour. But don't worry, the United States hasn't declared war on your family's beach house. It's just a part of a major Marine Corps exercise called Exercise Mailed Fist. Translation, Armored Fist. The exercise is designed to test the capability of every type of Marine Corps aircraft, including MV-22 Ospreys and F-18 Hornets, as well as some Navy ships and Air Force planes. Well, I mean, look. The drill will stretch from Quantico Marine Base in Northern Virginia to the neighbor's Pinch Castle bomb range in Florida. Okay. So what does that mean? They're doing this, and they're doing this in the summertime on the beaches, to kind of reinforce the idea that, oh, hey, look at the technology we have. This is where your money's going to keep you safe from Al-Qaeda, This is it. And then people see it and they're, oh, my God, look at that, Because, I mean, if you're at the beach, right, and you're chilling or you're swimming around, and then that motherfuckers, those two motherfuckers right there come over. I mean, you're gonna shit yourself a little bit. You're probably gonna pee your swimsuit. You're probably gonna pee your swimsuit a little bit when when you see that coming over the beach. I mean, it's unbelievable. Let's see what else we have here tonight. Oh, Farrakhan says that's a murderer in the White House, talking about Obama. All right, well, you know what I got to say about that? Farrakhan says that's a murderer in the White House. Oh, my goodness, look, the leader of the Nation of Islam's saying that about the black president. Oh, my goodness. Well, first off, do yourself a favor. Type Farrakhan, Farrakhan, and Jesuit into Google and see what you come up with. Okay? Enough said. That motherfucker is talking from the same playbook that Alex Jones is. And I remember a couple of years ago, Farrakhan came out with that big rant against the Jews and the Rothschilds and everybody in the Patriot movement. Truth movement was like, Farrakhan's on our side. He's on our team. He's a truther, man. Oh, he's against the Jews. He's against the Rothschilds. He's a fucking Jesuit cocksucker just like Alex Jones and the rest of those goddamn phonies in the Truth Patriot movement. Fuck them all. So tired of this shit. Ready for the day we don't have to think about these cocksuckers anymore. You feel me? Japan builds world's most powerful supercomputer. Every week, the world's biggest supercomputer comes out. You guys notice that? Is it Ranger down in Austin, or IBM builds one, or And what the rest of the world doesn't know is that these are all hubs for this, out of control, massive worldwide supercomputer system that's now running and steering all world events. Every time they build one of these, it goes into the network and syncs up with the other one. They're creating a massive, massive computer system. A Japanese computer has taken first place on the top 500 supercomputer list, ending China's reign as the top after just 6 months. At 8.16 petaflops, the K computer is more powerful than the next 5 systems combined. The K computer's performance was measured using 68,544 Spark 64 CPUs, each with 8 cores. So they had 68,000, almost 69,000 octo-core systems. Let me say that one more time. 69,000 octo-core systems, meaning 8 cores per CPU. For a total of 548,352 cores. My God. What do you need that kind of power for, my friend? I mean, you could pretty much just go and switch on the virtual matrix with that much power. They might have done that already. We may very well be all, naked embryos, in a giant pot of pink goo like the Matrix. And, this may all very well be a simulation for all we know. My God, what would surprise you at this point? Nothing. Almost twice as many as any other system on the top 500 list. The computer is still under construction. And when it enters service, and get this, when does it enter service? Anybody got a guess? November 2012. So this motherfucker goes operational a cold-blooded month before, December 21st, 2012. Wow. It's coincidence. Nothing to see here. Keep on walking, looking along. No connection, no connection. We wouldn't be building this thing. Right? Oh, give me a fucking break. Unbelievable. Japan's ascension to the top means of the Chinese T91A supercomputer, which took the #1 position in November last year, is now second with its 2.57 petaflops, but China continues to grow the number of systems it's had on the list, up from 42 to 62 systems. The change at the top also means that Jaguar, built for the U.S. Department of Energy, is bumped down to third place. Unbelievable stuff. But really do that sometimes. You know, think about the different applications for that. I mean, there's only so many there's only so many applications for that type of thing. Now, for that much speed, that much power, you kind of can, you know, really drive yourself crazy just trying to think of the applications. But the main thing that they use supercomputers for now at the DoD and the Pentagon is they run, they run cost-benefit analysis. They run massive. Well, they can, for instance, they can tell its trends. Okay, they take, and that's really what, you know, people oftentimes kind of overemphasize and over fearmonger their surveillance state. You know, it's kind of like what I was mentioning earlier. This whole idea that it's not what they tell you, it's what they don't tell you. Like Sitchin misrepresenting the Lost Book of Enki, you know, when actually it should be called the Lost Books of the Brotherhood of the Snake. Same type of thing here, you know. It's just a misrepresentation of that. And, you know, people often, you know, they say, oh, well, they want to track everything and they want to know every detail of our lives. They want to know what we're doing. Well, who's they? You know, all that data, they don't have people lackeys sitting behind desks at the Department of Defense, you know, analyzing, you know, everybody's post off Facebook, even though it's proven that information does feed into federal databases, the NSA, Echelon, all of that stuff. Everything you do on Google, Google is the NSA, Google is Echelon. They are the surveillance system, literally. Everything we do on Google feeds into these maps. But, you know, again, they don't have people, you know, if they did, we'd have tons of jobs in this country, wouldn't we? You know, if there were just, you know, office buildings full of people looking at printouts that are coming off of internet data, we'd have millions, but that's not what's happening. So there's this kind of this fear-mongering effect that's put on the whole surveillance state thing. Yes, it is true that they're tracking everything we do, everything. Remember that story we had a couple of weeks ago about the digestible RFID things now? They track your food from, you know, the chicken when it's born all the way to your poop and when it's in the sewer. I'm not kidding. I'm not making that up. That's literally, they're digestible. It's an RFID that tracks your food all the way from the time you eat it till you poop it out in the toilet and flush it and all the way after that. So who wants this information? See, it's all being database. It's all being correlated. It's all being put into these massive simulations. And they run trend. They can tell what, if red shoes are going to be a trend 5 years from now, they know it. Because all these algorithms and all this information that's feeding in from the web and from people's, you know, likes and and everything that they serve from what they do, it just feeds into these algorithms. That's why, you know, the people will be into a certain type of music, or there'll be a certain type of music that's kind of, you know, hot in the underground. The next thing you know, record labels start putting out all these bands by a certain type of music. You're going, wow, how'd that happen? All this is because, man, these massive computer systems monitor trends. That's the real secret behind the tracking and surveillance grid. They want to have the ability to be able to, beyond any shadow of a doubt, know how to effectively sell you shit you don't need at every turn. Forever. I mean, yes, there are more nefarious reasons for that, and yes, it's abuse, but that's really what it's for, to sell you more shit and to sell you on more shit, more ideologies. I need to take a break, but I want to get through all the news tonight so we can come back and read from Sitchin tonight. Here's one from the New York Times. War evolves with drones, some as tiny as bugs. I wanted to make sure, when I tell you that they're making, the military is now using drones the size of insects, that I told you it was from the New York Times, not the tinfoil Times. I want to make that distinction there. 2 miles from the cow pasture where the Wright brothers learned to fly for the first airplanes, military researchers are at work on another revolution in the air, shrinking unmanned drones, the kind that fire missiles into Pakistan and spy on insurgents in Afghanistan to the size of insects and birds. The base's indoor flight lab is called the Micro Aviary, and for good reason. The drones in development here are designed to replicate the flight mechanics of moths, hawks, and other inhabitants of the natural world. We're looking at how you hide in plain sight. And again, this is all stuff that, I saw, I don't know, I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago. Me and my sister saw this fucking moth. I don't know, man, to this day, I don't think this thing was a moth. I think it was one of these. I think it was, because generally technology, when we hear about it like this, that means they've had it for 10 years. So, I mean, they had Robo-Roach like 30 years ago. Man, that shit in the fucking 70s, man. Where they send in where they got a little roach with a camera. I've had that for years. And the rats and stuff. They had all kinds of animals and stuff that they can put things on for years. We saw this thing one night, man. It was this, I swear to God, this thing was a drone. It just did not look like an organic life form. It was a big this thing was like the size of a bird, man. It looked like a moth. But it didn't look like any moth I'd ever seen because it looked mechanical. It was just, that thing flew by my head, dude, and it sounded like a 747 was like buzzing my ear. Hell, it might have been. Again, they have this stuff for a lot longer than they ever tell us. It says that the drones are in development here are designed to replicate the flight mechanics of moths, hawks, and other inhabitants of the natural world. Said Greg Parker, an aerospace engineer, as he held up a prototype of a mechanical hawk that in the future might carry out espionage or kill. So they're just creating all kinds of next-gen tech, and again, they're testing out over in Iraq and Afghanistan now, but once they stir up enough civil unrest, enough civil war here in this country, it'll be here used here. I mean, I told you before the Super Bowl was in Dallas back in February, well, I guess it was like September, October last year. I talked about it here on the show about how the city of Dallas had gotten all this big funding from the Department of Homeland Security, millions of dollars in grants and next gen surveillance tech and all this stuff, specifically from the Department of Homeland Security because of the Super Bowl being in Arlington. And just as I predicted, I told you, I said, what's funny about that is that people won't question that because the Super Bowl's in Dallas. Dallas residents won't question, oh, well, we got stuff from Homeland Security, keep us safe from terrorists. Okay, great. But then once the Super Bowl's over, nobody ever asks the question, well, hey, what happened to that technology? Well, what they don't tell you is that technology stays. It doesn't go away when the Super Bowl's over. They had all this next gen, these surveillance drones and they had stuff like this, little small little drones you couldn't see that looked like birds. And sure enough, I had a story about a month or so ago and read that, yeah, I was indeed right. They're keeping that technology around. So that's kind of what they're doing now, They bring it under the guise of one thing, and then, when it's over, it doesn't leave. It stays. Very interesting story here. Knights Templar heirs demand apology from the Vatican. Well, that's rich. It's funny. The reason this is because a few years ago, I think it was right when I started on air, 2007, the Vatican finally pardoned the Knights Templar for heresy and wrongdoing and all this stuff. Yeah, right. The Templars were up to fucking no good. No fucking good. Don't anybody convince you. And I'm not saying the Vatican was in the right for what they did either, but you have to understand the situation. The priest class, the Vatican, they saw the Knights Templars as a threat to their game. because they started setting up the first fractional reserve currency. They set up the first debt monetary system. They were getting ready to be a significant power player in all of Europe. So that's what that's what the Catholics did. They deemed them, heretics, demanded them, burned and drawn and quartered and all that shit. Charged them with heresy and black magic. And then what did they do? They took the black magic and the idolatry and the rest of that stuff and absorbed it into the Vatican and made it a part of their religion, practiced in secret. Because again, that's what they do. That's what they've done with every major religion. Every major religion was absorbed in the Vatican, I think no later than, 1731 or something like that. Can't remember the exact, it may have been in the 1500s. The last Grand Master of the warrior monks who fought in the Crusades, Jacques de Molay, was executed in Paris in 1314 on charges of heresy, black magic, and idolatry. His death was part of a concerted campaign to suppress the chivalric order by King Philip IV of France, who had grown suspicious of the Templars' power and envious of their wealth. Although it was the French king who ordered de Molay to be put to death, the Templars have for centuries accused the church in Rome of complicity. Pope Clement V initiated an inquest into the order, which led to many knights being subjected to heresy trials before disbanding altogether. The movement was reborn in the early 19th century as a charitable organization and has branches around the world. The Italian chapter of the order has written to Pope Benedict asking him to issue a pardon for de Molay and to acknowledge that he was a victim of false accusations. There was an enormous degree of complicity between Clement V, who was Pope at the time, and was under huge pressure from King Philip. This was an appalling crime and a miscarriage of justice that the church allowed to happen. Well, listen to this. We are asking for de Molay to be pardoned so that we can finally turn a page in history and walk towards reconciliation. You understand that? I mean, it's just ridiculous. These guys, the term "kiss my ass" comes from the Templars. People never even question that. Kiss my ass, man. Fuck you, man. Kiss my ass. You know where that came from? There's a literal history behind that phrase. It goes back hundreds of years. It originated with the Templars because one of the things that they would do is the initiates the Grand Master would bare his bare ass, and the initiates of the Templars would have to line up while this motherfucker spread his cheeks, and they would literally have to kiss his asshole. Not his ass, not his cheek, his asshole. The hole itself. Tongue all up in there and everything. I mean, literally, that's where the term "kiss my ass." So every time you say "kiss my ass" for the rest of your life, you better think Templars. My goodness. But it's just funny. Oh, yeah, they were chivalric organization. Yes. Oh, yeah. I suppose, channeling demons through severed heads is very Christian. What am I talking about, right? Let's see what else we have here. A new generation of battery-free surveillance devices, which can be implanted under the skin and transmit over huge distances via wireless, have been developed by scientists. This comes to us from the Daily Mail out of the UK. Researchers are working on nano machines. Oh, that's just good quality. Nano machines that could be injected into the arms of patients and then report back to doctors who are monitoring them from miles away. Oh, that's just great. You never have to go to the doctor. They can just, know when you need to come in and get your, saltpeter shot. Flu shot. You're due for your live cancer virus. You're due for your yearly flu vaccine. By the way, they do put live cancer viruses in the flu shots. Never get a flu shot. Never get a shot of any kind. Never let anybody put a needle of any kind inside of you for any reason. Unbelievable. So, the technology can also be used in CCTV cameras attached to small flying craft, which use their own motion to power themselves. This is you've seen the theme here tonight. Massive supercomputers, implantable CCTV, implantable tracking things under your skin. Insect devices. Somebody made a joke about Skynet. Yeah, we're here now, you see. Everything that you've ever laughed at or been interested in science fiction, it's now a reality. And this is what they've been counting on. They knew that once people had this technology even in front of them, they would deny it. Because, everybody's seen the Terminator movies, right? So everybody thinks that's hogwash. Everybody thinks, oh, yeah, that's just Hollywood bullshit, blah, 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 whatever. Is it? Or is it specifically designed so that once it reaches that, your reaction will be, well, that's just fake Hollywood stuff. They probably really don't have that, and they wouldn't really do that. Okay. Are you sure? Because everything it seems like there's a massive transfer of power going on right now. You start, once you research this stuff long enough, you go up and up and up and up, and you get up to the power structure, up all the way to the top, you get to a point where you hit a brick wall. Not every person that's involved in this stuff is, oh, man. Unbelievable stuff. Well, I need to take a break. I've been going here for, well over an hour. And my voice is kind of starting to hurt. So we're going to take a break, come back, and we'll see if I have any more news to get into. I don't know if I do or not. I may have a couple more. And then we'll, so we have an emails, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. We'll continue reading from Zachary Sitchin's The Lost Book of Enki here for you tonight. This is the Global Reality, folks. Stay with us. Back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight here for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. And we're going to be done with the news for tonight. So we're going to be not really a whole lot of stuff today. Well, I should say not a whole lot of real pertinent stuff today. I mean, sure, there's news all day long if you want to talk about, Wiener or partisan politics or, the elections or all that stuff. But I just cannot bring myself to talk about that low-level arbitrary stuff anymore. It's just, in the grand scope of things, that stuff is it's just meaningless. It's just there. It's pap. It's designed to get you enthralled in it so that you can choose a phony side to be on, left or right, so then it can be further used to divide the people against the people. They've been doing this Machiavellian divide and conquer thing since the beginning of time. And yes, on one hand, we can say, oh, it's terrible. How terrible of them to do that. Well, how terrible of us to have all the information that is right in front of us and still continue to choose to be a part of it. So which is worse? Them for executing that plan? I mean, you can't blame them for having a good plan, can you? So we have to start just blaming the New World Order or blaming the Illuminati or blaming, whoever. Now that we've identified, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are reluctant to listen to this information or look into it for themselves and be knowledgeable about it, is because they just flat don't want the responsibility that comes along with it. Because once you know about it, you can no longer just, blindly go along and participate anymore. Otherwise, you're part of the problem. So that's the whole thing is, yes, we know what they're doing, but that's the whole fact is, now that we know what we're doing, it's our fault every time we choose to actively participate. Participating in their phony monetary system, participating in their credit enslavement system or their slave labor system. And as I've said a million times on the show, nobody expects you to go completely off the grid and be completely off. We all have to be attached to their stupid system in some way or the other. But why not use that system to shove it right back up their fucking asses and change things a little bit for once? There's just no excuse anymore. The information's all here. We have it. Our fate is going to be determined by our either our action or our lack thereof. That's really all it boils down to. Again, my website, www.theglobalreality.com. www.theglobalreality.com. Chip and banner donate button is there. Please support our work if you can. And we sure do need it right now. So act accordingly. Anything you do, it's just gotten ridiculous. So, all right, let's get into Lost Book of Enki for you here tonight. Well, we left off Friday night. The gentleman in Dubsar who was scribing the words of Enki for this tablet had just been relieved of his duties and had been successful in scribing this book for Enki on this, esoteric tablet that sounded like some kind of computer system. Well, it talked about how, the pen was made of a crystal, it like etched it into the tablet. So we're picking up where after he comes to his senses after being the scribe for Enki here. My life senses returned to me as if awakened from the deepest sleep by the sound of the calling of my name. I was in some kind of an enclosure. It was dark, but there was also an aura. Then my name was called again by the deepest of voices, and although I could hear it, I could not tell whence the voice came, nor could I see whoever it was that spoke, and I said, "Here I am." Oh, wait, I've already read this. Did we get our page thrown off here? Yeah, I did. Wow. I don't remember what page we left off on. Well, that stinks. Let me just scroll through the page. Bear with me for a minute. Oh, here we go. Yeah, because we were way past that. This is basically continuing on the sort of genealogical history of the ancestors of the Anunnaki who came to Earth and seeded life on Earth, and so this is their historical and genealogical record here. Try to see how much of this we read. It's talking essentially about how there was great cataclysms, there was nuclear weapons unleashed, and then somehow, it was just interesting because after, he said brother was pitted against brother, and then all of their people on their planet were wiped out. And then out of those ashes, like the phoenix out of the ashes, which is interesting because that's one of the symbols of the Brotherhood, the double-headed phoenix. Arose these bloodlines and these kings and queens and set up the new game. And so here they're talking about the circuit of Nibiru, which is the orbit of Nibiru. A destiny it is in the orbit of Nibiru embedded. So they're saying that there's, the destiny of what's to happen on their planet and our planet is hidden in the orbit of Nibiru, and many people out there believe that this comet Elenin, which is going to pass near to Earth very soon, is actually the famed Nibiru. I don't really believe that myself, but I don't not believe it either. You know what I mean? I'm just sort of, could go either way. Others of knowledge of the orbit did not consider the Nibiru's destiny to be tied with that orbit. They found that there was a breaching in their atmosphere. Volcanoes, the atmosphere were belching and spitting up. I'm sort of, as I was doing Friday night, I'm sort of kind of going over. Some of this stuff is in kind of a weird. It doesn't really translate well in modern day English. I'm kind of summarizing it all for you because it just sounds dumb to read. Volcanoes, the atmosphere forbear, less belching, were spitting up. I'd rather just say there were volcanoes and shit was coming out of them, Nibiru's air has been made thinner. The protective shit lid has been diminished. I think it's supposed to say shield, but it says shit lid. Is that what they call it in ancient Sumeria? The shit lid? Yeah, get that shit lid up there, boy, before we burn to death. Ah, damn, put some duct tape and some baling wire on it. Do whatever you got to do. Keep us from burning up. I think Bill Hicks was right. We've been invaded by rednecks from another world. In the reign of Anshar and Kishar, pestilences appeared, and they could not overcome them. Their son Anshar ascended to the throne, and he was of the 6th dynasty of rule on Nibiru. His name became Master of the Shar. With great understanding, he was born. So he was born. He was already, he already had knowledge when he was born. He was born with a great knowledge of something. With much learning, he mastered much knowledge. To remedy the afflictions in the ways he sought to remedy the afflictions of people. And he spent much time studying the orbit of Nibiru. In its looping of the sun, 5 family members embraced the planets of dazzling beauty for cures to the afflictions of their atmosphere. He examined the atmosphere, so they were finding out that people were dying on their planet, and the reason that was because of their atmosphere being depleted. To each he gave a name. Ancestral forefathers he honored as heavenly couples. He considered them. On and Onto were like twin planets. He called the first 2 that he encountered On and Onto. Beyond Nibiru's orbit were Anshar and Kishar, and they were the largest in size. As a messenger, Gaga among the others, course, sometimes first Nibiru meet. I think Gaga is Jupiter or Saturn or one of those. So there's your occultic reference and your occultic explanation behind Lady Gaga. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, that's where they came from. I mean, come on. She's Italian, too. Give me a fucking break. These guys in the priest class that run the music industry and all this, they're all well aware of this stuff. I mean, in every one of her videos, Lady Gaga's videos, one of her first videos, there's, Sirius in the background to the twin dogs. I mean, there's occultic stuff in every single one of those. That's not there by mistake. And it's not put there by her either. Don't confuse that. The most of the time, the guys in the A&R departments at the major record labels are the ones that are the occultists and are into this. And, they suggest, hey, you should put this in there. And they say, oh, okay, cool, whatever you want, yay. Give me some more Coke and $1 million. I'll do whatever you want. 5 in all were Nibiru's heavenly greeters as the sun it circled. Beyond, like a boundary, the hammered bracelet of the sun encircled. As a guardian of the heavens' forbidden region with havoc, it protected. Other children of the sun, 4 in number from intrusion, the bracelet shielded. The atmospheres of the great 5 greeters Anshar set out to study. So some sort of loop, which interesting because I've just had this story here tonight and already closed out of it, damn it. Let me see if I can get back to it. That's just odd that it's talking about this bracelet that came from the sun that actually protected part of their atmosphere during the time in which it came around. And I had this story here tonight, and I didn't cover it, and I was thinking, I'll just skip that one. Here it is. Kind of seems synchronistic now. Maybe there's a connection to this. It says, it's from the Daily Mail, discovery of magnetic ropes that cause solar storms will help prepare Earth for space weather damage. So they discovered these ropes that precede these solar flares, which should be able to help us be able to understand when these are going to happen and protect against them. And I'll put a link to that in the chat room so you can check it out on your own, but it just seems highly coincidental and seems almost very similar to what they're describing here as this. Maybe it was something about these ropes, as they're calling here in this Daily Mail article. Maybe that's what the bracelet was. Shielding the planet. In its repeating orbit, the 5 in Nibiru's loop carefully were examined. The 5 planets in the same orbit as Nibiru were carefully examined. They observed what types of atmospheres that these planets possessed. And with celestial chariots, they intensely were examined. Oh, right. So they sent spaceships to examine the planets closer. That's what it is, celestial chariots. Come on. The findings were astounding. The discoveries confusing. From orbit to orbit, Nibiru's atmosphere seemed to have more breaching. In the councils of the learned, cures were avidly debated. Ways to bandage the wound were urgently considered. A new shield to embrace the planet was attempted. All that was thrust up back to the ground came down. And the councils of the learned, the belching volcanoes were studied. The atmosphere by belching volcanoes that were created by the volcanoes. God, I'm just trying to figure out a way to say this. The atmosphere by belching volcanoes had been created as wound by their diminished belching had come to be. And it just doesn't, So these volcanoes cause their atmosphere, or one of the causes of their atmosphere to be depleted. And it says here that they basically figured out how to make a new invention that would utilize the volcanoes to basically solve their problem. And so they were actually trying to get the volcanoes to keep spewing, even though they wanted them to stop before. Now they were hoping that the volcanoes would start to spew again because whatever solution they come up with needed that to happen in order for it to work. In the reign of Inshar, the breach in the skies grew bigger. It didn't rain, the wind blew harder, and there was no water that came out of the ground. On the lands, there was an accusation the breasts of mothers were dry. In the palace, there was distress, and an accusation therein took hold, as first his wife, Inshar, a half-sister, did espouse by the law of the seed abiding. Ninshar, she was called, who bears the shars of the lady, a son she did not bear. By a concubine to Inshar, a son was born. The firstborn son he was. By Ninshar, first wife and half-sister, a son was not brought forth. By the law of succession, the concubine's son to the throne ascended. The 7th to reign he was. Du-Uro was his royal name, and the dwelling place fashioned its meaning. In the house of concubines, not in the palace, he was indeed conceived. So he was like, he was like the George Bush of his time, I suppose. The bastard son who ascended to power, the more like the Bill Clinton of his time, huh? Yeah. I don't know if they still know who Bill Clinton's dad was. His mom was a dirty, dirty whore. Damn, man. She fucked so many dudes. They didn't know who the fuck Bill's dad was. I think somebody said it was, that guy from Hee Haw. Junior Samples or some shit like that. I think somebody said Junior Samples was his dad. And somebody at Dilly Plaza told me that one time. As his spouse, a maiden from his youth beloved Duru chose. And, that's interesting. So, Duru, the bastard son who took over power, chose his wife because he loved her, not because she was in the bloodline. Uh-oh. Well, this is interesting, man. This story's starting to get thick. Now we're starting to see why, we need to learn this. This sounds very similar to the history of some of our kings and queens and power structure on earth, doesn't it? Da-Uru was her royal name. She who is by my side was the meaning. Wow, that's kind of a downgrade from, the wife before. What she was like, the one who does something in the sky. This is like, the bitch who stands by my side all the time. Wow, that's just beautiful, man. Wonderful, wonderful poetry there. In the royal court, confusion was rampant. Sons were not heirs. Wives were not half-sisters. In the land, the suffering was increasing. Fields it had no abundance. The plants wouldn't grow. And among the people, fertility was diminished. I mean, you know, nobody was getting pregnant, means nobody was being born, so their population was diminishing fast. In the palace, fertility was absent. Neither son nor daughter was brought forth. Of On's seed, 7 were the rulers. Then of his seed, the throne was dry. So On, which is funny because On is, if you know if you study the genealogical history of the Anunnaki, On was, you know, the Anunnaki were the Anunnaki were the princes of, you know, the one God, princes of the guy who he was the son, the forefathers. They were the forefathers of, you know, the one who was the first person that started the bloodline, and that was On. And so after 7 of On's bloodline were the rulers, they no longer had one of On's bloodline in rule. Daru, a child at the palace gateway, was embraced as a son. Duru, in the end, was adopted. His name became Lama, meaning dryness. In the palace, the princes were very mad, and they were complaining to the council of counselors. In the end, Lama ascended the throne. Though not of On's seed, he was the 8th to reign. Now, it's very interesting. He sounds very much like a Akhenaten type character, you know. In the councils of the learned to heal the breach, there were 2 suggestions. One was to use a metal to fix their atmosphere, a metal by the name of gold. On Nibiru, it was greatly rare. Within the hammered bracelet, it was abundant. So the zone, I guess, the hammered bracelet may be very well talking about the asteroid belt. It was the only substance that to the finest powder could be ground up and put in high into the heaven, into the atmosphere, and would stay suspended. Thus, with replenishments, the breach would heal, and it would have better protection. Let the celestial boats be built. Let a celestial fleet to fleet the gold to Nibiru bring over. So here they are. They're talking about let's create ships and go somewhere out, you know, on the other side of our solar system and find some gold and bring it back here. Funny, that would just be the one thing our monetary system just happened to be based on, huh? Get us all to mine it. Get us all to build our whole, you know, fight and kill each other for, you know, 3,500 years or 3,600 years or however long it is, you know. And then create this power structure. Then get everybody to hoard it in one spot. And then when the Anunnaki come back and tell us,
pathetic earthlings, bow down to me. We are the Anunnaki, and we have returned for our gold. We will take it back to our planet and leave you pathetic earthlings here on the planet to die.
You know, stranger things have happened. Probably what it's going to be, isn't it? Folks, you're going to have to get this gold right now, folks, because Anunnaki want to take the gold away from you, folks. Chad's got a great deal on Jugo for you today, and you need to get it now, because you don't have much time left, folks. The Anunnaki are going to take your gold, folks, and I'm fucking mad about it. Yeah, you'll probably hear that before it's over with. Let weapons of terror be created. Now, we've established from reading William Bramley and reading the rest of this that the weapons of terror they refer to are the nuclear weapons, weapons of mass destruction. So they're saying they should, you know, go to this planet or wherever it is and just launch nuclear weapons and blow the shit out of stuff and go in and pick up all the gold. For a decision, Lama was too feeble. What did he know about making that kind of a choice? One orbit of Nibiru was completed. In the fields, affliction was not diminished. the volcanoes continued belching and the atmosphere was still not repaired. A third shar passed. A fourth was a shar is a year in Nibiru, by the way. It's a marking of or a year or marking of a sort of passage of time. So when they say a third shar passed and a fourth shar passed, that's a notation of time, by the way. Still, the gold was not obtained. In the land, there was still strife. Strife was abundant. There was no food, no water. Everybody in the lands were disjointed. Everybody was accusing each other. Everybody's running around basically like a chicken with their head cut off, not knowing who to blame, playing the blame game. And there's basically saying, well, then if this is our destiny to die like this, then we can't really do anything about it. In the royal court, the princes were astir. The king's accusations were directed foolishly, unreasoning, and greater calamities instead of a cure he brought forth. From the olden storehouses, weapons were retrieved. Of rebellion, there was much speaking. A prince in the royal palace was the first to take up arms. And now they're having civil unrest. And they went up to Lama and attacked him. And they killed Lama, the eighth ruler. Lama is no more. The king is no more, with glee he announced. To the throne room, Alalu rushed. On the throne, he himself seated. Without right or counsel, a king, he pronounced himself king. In the land, all unity was lost. Some rejoiced the death of Lama, some were saddened by it. Now this is the account of the kingship of Alalu and of the going to earth. So when this guy, what's essentially what they're telling us is that this guy Lama died, and this guy Alalu, who just wasn't anybody, basically came in and said, I'm not of the bloodline. I'm just a regular person. I'm taking over. And now that I'm taking over and I'm the new game in town, I'm saying that we're going to Earth and we're going to go get the gold there. So there was no talk of going to Earth and mining Earth. That's interesting. By the power structure of people that existed on the throne in Nibiru, there was no talk of even going to Earth to do this until this usurper came in and basically took over the throne by, sheer brute force. He came in, killed the king, took over and became king. And said, we're going to Earth to get the gold to fix this problem. That's very interesting. This is why they say that the Anunnaki, the people that came to Earth and did the things that they did and created humans and all this stuff, were pursued from some of the other inhabitants of Nibiru. They were pursued by other Anunnaki. So that kind of clears that up a little bit, doesn't it? So it wasn't that we were even, invaded or genetically manipulated by people who were, of the royal bloodline. These were basically usurpers. We were. That's kind of an unbelievable thing. In the land, the unity was lost, and many people did not like the kingship of this guy Alalu just coming in and saying, "I'm taking over. I'm the new game in town." You can imagine that. Princes were agitated. The counselors were distraught. From father to son, succession from on to the throne continued. Even Lama the eighth, by adoption, a son was proclaimed. Who was Alalu? Was he a legal heir? Was he a firstborn? By what right did he usurp? Was he not a king slayer? Before the seven who judged Alalu was summoned, his fate to consider. So they bring into him to be judged by seven people. Though through neither legal heir nor son of a firstborn royal seed, he was he. Of Angshargal I am descended, before the judges he claimed, by a concubine. My ancestor was born to him. Alam was his name. By the count of shars, by the count of years, Alam was the firstborn throne to belong to him. So basically, he came in and said, no, I can prove that I am part of this bloodline. So they couldn't really argue with that. The royal annals from the House of Records were brought forth. With much care they were read. On and onto the first royal couple, there were 3 sons and no daughters born to them. The firstborn was Anki. He died on the throne and had no offspring. The middle son in his stead was Anib, and Shargal was his firstborn, and to the throne he ascended after him. On the throne of kingship by the firstborn did not continue, so it didn't continue on that far, and this goes on and on and on. They're talking about blah, blah. Is he, they're trying to figure out, does he have the right to be king? Is he a usurper? This, that, and the other. Secession must be reconsidered to the assembly, he said. Through neither firstborn nor by the queen of a son of pure seed am I descended. The essence of On in me is preserved, by no concubine diluted. So he's saying, basically, yes, she had, On had, my father had sex with, a person who wasn't of the bloodline, but it didn't dilute it. I'm still part of he's trying to just convince these people that he is one of them through the bloodline so that he can, maintain power. They asked for his name. It is Anu. After my forefather, I named. Now, what's interesting about that? Wow. So this is the story of Anu. So the guy who took over and usurped the throne was Anu, and we know that Anu's sons later on were Enlil and Enki. So Enlil and Enki, who allegedly caused all this havoc on Earth, the flood and genetic manipulation and all this stuff, and seeding mankind with these phony religions, were the result of someone who may or may not have actually been a part of the royal bloodline. So if that's true, and these people that are in charge and power today, and presidents, kings, queens, power structure all over the world, that are part of this bloodline, and they're basing their whole divine right to rule on the fact that they're a part of these bloodlines, right? If that's true, then that would make them imposters. That would make them because from what this genealogical and historical record of the ancestors of the Anunnaki tells us, is that it wasn't the people who had been in the bloodlines and in the power structure and everything up to that point who made the decision to Earth. They seemed to act like that was taboo. Then this guy comes in, kills the king, takes over, and then goes through this big, long, drawn-out ordeal of being in front of the council and look at me, and I came from this bloodline, and my baby daddy was over here, and he fucked this whore, the concubine, and just because she's a whore doesn't mean I'm not a part of the bloodline. All this convincing going on, you see. So again, that would make this very, very interesting. That would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these people that, maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe that's why they've been creating space-based weapons. Maybe, they're scared, because if there's something to this, if this is real, then that would mean that at some point, the real bloodlines of power, if any of these people still exist anywhere, could actually feasibly come back and call out the power structure here on Earth as being the usurpers and the descendants of the usurper who took over the throne on Nibiru. They could very well come here and say, we need help fixing our atmosphere, but, they came down here and set this up and basically did it against our wishes. Boy, that could be. No wonder they don't want us knowing what this information is. My goodness, see, it just becomes more clear every time we read it. They asked him what his name was, and he said, my name is Anu, after my forefather I am named. They inquired about his generations. Of On's 3 sons, he reminded them. Anki, was the firstborn. Without a son or daughter, he died. And Neb was the middle son. Instead of Anki, to the throne he descended. And Neb, the daughter of his younger brother, took to be wife. From them onward to the succession in the annals was recorded. Who was that younger brother? A son of On and Ontu, that was of purest seed. The counselors looked with wonderment at each other. Inuru was his name. Anu to them announced that he was my great ancestor. His spouse, Ninuru, was a half-sister. Her son was firstborn. Inama was his name. And from the throneship we were removed. From On's pure seed we were not removed. So they basically at some point took out someone who had the right to be in power and tried to say that they weren't a part of the bloodline when they were. Okay. Though by different offsprings of one ancestor we were both descended, let us live in peace together and return abundance to Nibiru. Let me keep the throne. Let you keep the succession. Meaning, all right, well, let's do it like this. You let me stay in charge and have power and get some stuff done. And when I'm done and I'm old and I die, I'll pass it on to you, and then your bloodline can keep it going after that. Nice little compromise to keep everybody happy, huh? To the council words he directed, let Anu, the crown prince, be. Let him be my successor. Let his son, my daughter, espouse. Let succession be united. Anu bowed before the council, and to the assembly he declared, Alalu's cupbearer I shall be. His successor in waiting, a son of mine, a daughter of his as bride, I shall choose. That was the council's decision, and in the royal annals it was inscribed. In this manner, Alalu on the throne remained seated. He summoned the sages, the savants, and the commanders for him to consult in deciding that, and from that he gained much knowledge. Let celestial boats be constructed to seek the gold in the hammered bracelet, he decided. So again, he usurps the crown, takes over, convinces them, hey, you let me get in here and get some stuff done, and then I'll make sure when I'm done that, we'll still continue the bloodline thing and pass down the power. And so what is the first thing he decides to do? Let's build the celestial boats. Let's build the crafts. Let's go to the hammered bracelet, the area around the earth, and let's get the gold and bring it back here and fix our atmosphere. And their first try was essentially no good. By the hammered bracelets, the boats were crushed. None of them returned. Let the weapons of terror enter the bowels of Nibiru. Let Nibiru be cut open. Let the volcanoes again erupt, he then commanded. So this asshole tries to, build these ships to go and get the gold. It fails. They are destroyed, and then he gets pissed off and unleashes, weather weapons and says, let the volcanoes erupt, unleashes nuclear weapons. With weapons of terror, skyborne chariots were armed with terror missiles from the skies where the volcano struck. Oh! So he sent up the ships and launched nuclear weapons inside of the volcanoes of Nibiru. The mountains swayed, the valleys shuddered as great brilliances with thunder exploded. In the land there was much rejoicing. Everybody was expecting there was going to be an abundance of food and things were going to get better. And it just continued to get worse. The volcanoes did not increase. The atmosphere did not heal. And it kept going around its orbit, and it kept getting colder and colder on Nibiru. Wow, so it's getting very interesting. So we're going to leave it there, and we'll pick up tomorrow and read more of this. It is kind of a tough read. Somebody pointed that out, one of our listeners, but I've done that before. I've started books and I've said, this is a tough read. I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do that with this. I'm going to see this one through. And the reason is because I think there's enough here to gain from reading this, and I don't mind going through and kind of giving you the, rough translation of what this stuff is saying, but man, it's just ultimately fascinating. Again, the past is prologue. He who ignores the past is someone who is not going to know what's going to happen in the future. And this was recorded for us so that we wouldn't make the same mistakes that they made. And unfortunately, trying to figure out how to repair your atmosphere and stuff like that sounds like we're pretty much already there, doesn't it? But we'll continue more with this next time. Again, folks, we do need your support right now. We wouldn't even been on air today had one of our listeners not help us pay the stream bill. And we got to continue. We got to continue to do this, and we can only do it with your support. So, and $5, $10 share is just not going to cut it anymore. We need something substantial. Please help us if you can. My name's Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. My voice is killing me. I got to go. You guys have a great one. Take care.